And tomorrow, Wednesday sundown, will be the actual weekly Sabbath. You know how it's been. But just want to touch on that real quick because in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, I'll start at the top and I'll jump around. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." And, going into this, so we can understand that, the times that we're in, just trying to line it up correctly. And we go by the moon. All right. It tells you in Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 43. You can start at the 6th verse and it tells you, let me just read it. This is how we determine, this is what the Lord gave us so we could understand where we are, within the month, which that word month comes from moon. This is Ecclesiasticus, which is in the Apocrypha, chapter 43 and verse 6. It says, "He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. For the moon is the sign of feast. From the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection." So according to the moon, that's how we can tell, what day it is. It's a sign of feast, the feast days. And according to the times that we're in, when the sun goes down, it's going to be the end of the feast of unleavened bread. All right. But going back to Exodus chapter 12 and verse 3, it says, Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month," so the first month, on the 10th day, "they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house." And this is going into the preparations for the Passover. But I want to focus on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Let me skip down. This is Exodus 12 and verse 8. It says, hold on. Let me read up. Going into the 14th day of the month. Verse 6, Exodus 12 and 6, it says, "And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the even." All right. So going into our times. Okay. What just happened on April 1st, that was the 14th day at even. All right. Hold on. Let me see if I'm getting ahead of myself. I read verse 6. All right. So going into that. All right. So that's the beginning. That's, what we ought to do on the Passover. So on the 14th day at even, that's whenever we ought to prepare the Passover. All right. So in our times, that was on April 1st, Wednesday even or evening, right? Which is, I'm going to draw right here. Doing it like that because that's evening. All right. Because it's not at 12 o'clock. 12 a.m. is the new day. No, our days go by the even. It tells you that in Genesis 1, the first chapter. But sticking to the point. So that's the 14th day. All right. Of the first month. How we honor the Passover. Then it says, let me jump to verse 8. It says, "And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread and with bitter herbs, and they shall eat it." Going into how we ought to do for the Passover. Hold on. Let me jump down even more. Verse 14. It says, all right, verse 14, Exodus 12 and 14, it says, "And this day shall be unto you a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast of the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." Verse 15, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation unto you, which is tonight. This is the seventh day. You know, we started the we kept the Passover on Wednesday even. Okay, which the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the same thing. Let me prove that real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. And I know I can't be over 10 minutes on here. Matter of fact, let me see where I'm at. Let me type this in. Come on, man. You know what I meant. One second. I know I'm looking over it. Hold up. Right here. This is Matthew 26 and verse 17. It says, now the first day. Hold up. Nope, that's not it. Salakia. Hold on. Bear with me. Right here. Luke 22 and 1. Thawada Yahweh Shem Yahushua says, now the feast of unleavened bread. Luke 1 and 21. Luke 22 in verse 1. It says, now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. So it's the same thing. All right. So going back to the point, how it said in Exodus chapter 12. Let me go back. Exodus chapter 12 and verse. Where was verse 15? It says, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoso eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the seventh day, that soul should be cut off from Israel. And that's what we actually do. Remove actual leaven from our houses, you know, on the 14th day, before the sun goes down on the 14th day. Then going into how it's a holy convocation, how we ought to honor it, right? So jumping to verse 17, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In verse 18, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 21 day of the month at even. All right, so that's where we are. So going back to the calendar. So Wednesday, Thursday, where I drew the line, or Wednesday even, right here, that's the 14th day. All right, 14th going into the 15th day. Then 15th going into the 16th day. 16th going into the 17th day. I'll draw right here. 17th. Or hold on. How did I say? 14th going into the 15th. 15th going into the 16th. 16th going into the 17th. 17th going into the 18th. 18th going into the 19th. 19th going into the 20th. 20th going into the 21st. So Tuesday even, where we are right now, this is the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. That's the 7th day. Then on this day, on this even, which would be Wednesday, Thursday even, that's the actual weekly Sabbath. Okay? That's how it is in today's time, 2026, April 7th. Okay? But yeah, Lord willing, this was edifying to the Lord's elect. Until next time, I say shalom.